welcome everyone to the Tuesday, August 12th, 2025 regular board meeting of the West Seneca Central School District. If we could stand for the pledge, please. And we'll have our students ex officio board members, please lead us in the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Before we do a roll call, I'm going to have Lisa take over for a moment.
Thank you, Mr. Bedian. It is with profound sadness that I ask for your attention. On Sunday evening, one of our students, Carson Shanahan, lost his courageous battle against cancer. And Carson's legacy, I think, will be the way in which he fought courageously cancer with grace, with dignity, and the power that it showed to all of us in such a young, sweet boy. And as a school community, it has been absolutely a pleasure to see how this community has come together to rally around Carson and his family. And so at this very difficult time, we embrace them with our love and support and our prayers. And I would like to ask that you join me in a moment of silence to memorialize. Thank you. Our thoughts and prayers are with the Shanahan family, and I want to thank the board for your support through these difficult days. Just regarding that, a communication did go out to our school community today. We will be providing support for families that are affected by this loss. Carson's friends and family are welcome to gather. We will have support for students at West Middle School tomorrow afternoon from 3 to 7 p.m. And we will be having a gathering for faculty and staff who may be impacted by this loss right next door here at West Elementary in the library. The Shanahan family, I can't underscore enough how much their family touches our school community. Jessica is a bright light in every room that she walks into and has worked in a number of our elementary schools as a computer support aide, and most recently has been in our technology department. So she is someone who is known throughout our schools here in West Seneca and our community. So this is going to deeply impact our community, and we are providing support to our students and to our faculty and staff. Thank you.
We'll move on to our roll call. Just to let everyone know that Zach Armstrong is remote today. He's joining us on the little computer over there. So I'll begin with Zach. Present?
I am present, sir.
Excellent, thank you. Jeremy?
Present.
Sarah?
Present.
Laura?
Present.
Lorraine?
Present.
Marla?
Present.
Ed's here. Dr. Kruger's here.
Present.
And I'll Adam?
Present.
Cal?
Present.
Thank you. Everyone's accounted for. We'll hand over to the superintendent to do your report, please.
Thank you. So I'm happy to share a few things with you, some updates and some recaps in the superintendent's report. First, I just wanted to highlight some changes. We've had various forms of communication on this throughout the summer, but again, a reminder to families of some changes that are on the horizon when school resumes in September. First, we are in our final phase of providing secure vestibules in all of our schools. This has been a capital improvement project impacting all of our schools, and this summer our last three schools, Allendale Elementary, Winchester Potters, and Clinton Elementary, are having their secure vestibules completed. This is in a design to enhance the safety and security in our schools. We have a single point of entrance, and that single point of entrance is for all visitors coming into our schools during the day. And as I mentioned, our final three schools are having that work completed, so that will be done when school opens this fall. Now that we have our secure vestibules, an additional layer of safety enhancement will be the launch of the Raptor Visitor Management System. With this visitor management system, visitors who are entering our school during the school day will be within the secure vestibule, and they will be asked to state the reason for their business and to present their government-issued identification. That identification will be scanned through the Raptor Visitor Management System, and it checks the individual's identification against the National Sex Offender Database and Registry, so that we are certain that during the day we are not allowing someone who is a sex offender into our school, whether that's a parent that's entering our school for a meeting, or more frequently we have contractors, vendor replacement individuals, copy repair individuals who may be gaining entry into our schools during the day. And this is going to be an added layer of safety so that we have assurances as to who we are allowing to have access into our school during the school day. All visitors who enter the school during the day will be printed a visitor ID badge, and they will be wearing that badge during the duration of their visit. This again is just for visitors who are actually entering our school building. A parent who is just entering in between those double doors to drop off a forgotten instrument, forgotten lunch, homework, not that our kids ever forget their homework, but that will be left with main office personnel in between those double set of doors. This only applies to those going through the second set of doors where they would actually have entry into our building. We have communicated this in both a July communication and also a communication that will be going out again in August, so that all families are aware of this change come the fall. Another change upon us this fall, hopefully this is old news to most people. There's been local media, and certainly we as a school community have been trying to spread the word to ensure that both our students and their families are aware of the distraction-free learning environment law that goes into effect for the onset of the school year. We have met the requirements of this law, which required us as a school district to adopt a local policy and to include stakeholders in the development of that policy. We did that work throughout this spring, and the Board of Education adopted that policy by the expected deadline that New York State articulated for us, which was August 1st. Just to recap what this will look like, in our schools, cell phones and other internet-abled devices are to be off and away during the instructional day. That means from the start of the instructional day until the end. So there is no carve-out for study hall, for lunch, for passing time. It is during the entire instructional day. At our middle school and high school, devices will be off and away and stored in students' lockers, so they will be secured during the day. At the elementary level, our principals will be communicating any building nuances. As you can imagine, our buildings slightly vary from building to building. This elementary school, West Elementary, has lockers for all students, but that isn't necessarily the case in some of our schools where pre-K to 2 may not have access to a lockable locker. And so building principals at the elementary level will be communicating any of those nuances out to families for any building-specific information. We also have developed consistent practices and protocols if a student should have a violation of this rule that we have in school, and I've outlined these here for you so that we are handling this in a consistent way. And first offense, students will be given a verbal warning. From there, we'll be employing what's called progressive discipline, and so with each offense or violation, there may be additional consequences. At the third offense, it's not only a detention, but also a phone call home where the family, parent, or guardian would be required to come in to pick up the student's device. If we get to a fourth offense or a fifth offense, we are sensitive to that we may have some students who are legitimately having withdrawal symptoms and have potentially cell phone addictions. If we have a student who reaches that fourth or fifth offense, we will have sensitivity to that of potentially involving our PPS personnel, so school counselors or social workers, to try to determine, do we actually have a student who is addicted to their device, and and how can we support that student as opposed to simply giving consequences to a student. When we get, if we should, should say, if we get to a fourth offense by a student, at that point, we believe that the student's demonstrating that they're having difficulty with self-discipline and self-control around their device and the use of that device during the school day. And at that fourth offense, the student would then be required to start and end their day with a visit to the main office, to drop off their device at the main office, where it would be kept in a sealed envelope and stored away for the day, and the student can come back to the main office at the end of the day to retrieve that device. That would occur for 10 weeks in duration. If there is a fifth offense, we would be keeping that procedure of maintaining the device in the main office for the remainder of the school year. So those, I guess, consequences and responses to us enacting this plan will be communicated out to families as well, and all of our building administrators are aware of that. Additionally, I will be sharing this message on opening day so that our faculty and staff are aware, and that as faculty and staff, we are consistently enforcing this new practice for the upcoming school year. So some of our communications, our building principals will be communicating this in their back-to-school communications and any orientations that they're going to be hosting, such as sixth grade orientations, freshman orientation, things of that nature. In addition, we are sharing this at board meetings, on our school district website, which is a requirement of the regulation, and in email communications that have been shared with families. One has already gone out in July, and an additional communication will be going out in August. We also have a status check scheduled on October 28th. The stakeholders that came together to develop that local policy on how do we go about enacting and enforcing this requirement that's put upon us, they had a voice in the development of those procedures. We are going to come together on October 28th so that we can get feedback from our stakeholders. What's working well? Are there any challenges? Do we need to make tweaks or adjustments to that which we've outlined? So that is scheduled for October 28th so that adjustments can be considered at that time. Next, I'd just like to highlight a recent event. Our schools are somewhat quiet during the summer compared to the school year. Usually this is a really robust section of the superintendent's report, but there is one item that I'd like to share with the Board of Education, and that is the National Night Out that was recently hosted. The West Seneca Police Department is key in hosting this event, and the West Seneca School District had a presence in that event. We had both our Reading Rover present, where we gave out free books to children, and our transportation department was involved in that event. So many thanks to the West Seneca Police Department for hosting that event, and to our faculty and staff that were involved in the event. And then lastly, I just would like to highlight some upcoming events. Tonight, of course, we have our work session, or rather, I'm sorry, next week, Tuesday, we have our work session at 6 p.m. We have New Teacher Academy coming up later this month. We will be honoring Laura Sokol-Scott at the Erie County School Boards Association Award Dinner. Laura was recognized and nominated for an award and will be receiving that award at the Erie County School Boards Association event dinner that evening. Congratulations, Laura, much deserved. And on August 26th, we have our opening day for faculty, staff, and administrators. Board members are welcome to attend that if your schedule allows you to do so. We will be gathering at 8 a.m. in the auditorium of West Senior. And then we welcome back all of our students on Tuesday, September 2nd for the first day of school. Thank you.
Thank you. I can't get here quick enough for me. It's great. We're actually going to do public comment next, and I do not have the sign-up sheet. I don't think I saw anything in there when I checked before the meeting, but I will let Melissa double check on it. Excellent. So now I don't have to read the paragraph, and we're good to go. We will move on to personnel. May I have a second on number 3, please? Okay, I'm going home. May I have a motion on number 3, please?
I'll make the motion to approve it.
Motion to approve number 3. May I have a second?
I'll second it.
Any discussion on anything in there? Good. All in favor? Aye. Anyone opposed? Anyone abstaining? We're good to go. So it passes, if I get this right, because we talked about it, it passes 6-0, 7-0 with Armstrong. It counts. Good to go.
That's right.
That's right.
Zach, who is remote, is still eligible to participate in the vote. It simply doesn't count in our quorum
Got it.
tonight.
Yeah, I was going to talk about that at the end. I might as well throw it out there now. We need a quorum present in the room to hold our meetings, but anyone attending here or virtually has a vote. And we did make sure we clarified that, because it seems we're all doing a great job of jumping in when we're out of town. We seem to all be doing a good job of making the meetings and doing it. So, and thank you for everyone who goes through that trouble to get us here. Okay, so passes 7-0. We'll move on to number 4. If I can have a motion on number 5 through 8, please.
I'll make the motion to approve.
Jeremy, motion to approve 5 through 8. May I have a second?
I'll second it.
Second. And there's no discussion on consent agenda, so all in favor? Aye. Anyone opposed? Okay, passes 7-0. This time, we are going to start a new thing where we're going to throw in a little bit of a recess. So typically throughout the year, this would be a good time for us to get ready for the presentation. Number 10 is Rick Yancey, and I think it's a 4-hour presentation. No, I'm kidding. So meetings are typically longer, and we'll take a break at this point. But we also get a chance to meet anyone who we've hired or anyone that we've appointed for anything that's in the audience. So we'll take a few-minute recess, say hello to everybody, use the restrooms, and we're good to go.
If I could ask Mr. Bedian, if you don't mind, if we just ask those individuals to please stand and be recognized so that we can have an opportunity to welcome you to the district and for us to know who it is that our board members may want to be meeting. First, recognizing some retirees that the Board of Education just took action on tonight, and we thank them for their service. And then, of course, at this time of year, we are getting ready for the upcoming school year, and we had a number of appointments that the Board of Education just approved and took action on. So I would like to ask that those individuals who just received their welcome to the district and their appointment for employment in the district, if you could please stand to be recognized. We welcome you to the West Seneca Central School District family and hope that you have a very long and worthwhile and fulfilling career here in West Seneca. Welcome to the team.
Now, we'll go on to number 9, a little brief recess. We'll say, guys, are we good with 5 minutes this time, 10 minutes? We'll say 5 because it'll be 10.
We'll say 2 for you.
2 for me.
Thanks,
Hey, look, I tried to
thanks
rush
everyone.
along. I skipped the whole.
So I certainly welcome questions along the way as they come up. So just quickly on the topics of discussion, we'll talk about just the goals that we kind of are thinking about, what the concept of local share means with respect to capital projects. The term maximum cost allowance will become important as we talk about what districts would like to do. I mean, obviously everybody would like to do everything, but the state does set maximum limitations on what they'll provide building aid for, as well as potential new capital project timing, as well as we'll talk about capital reserve leveraging. I know that the last couple projects, the district has used capital reserve dollars, which is essentially a savings account that the district has maintained over the years to use as a down payment on some of these projects. So just quickly, we talk about, when we think about planning of capital projects, it's not what the next year looks like. It's always looking out, 15, 20 years, because obviously the districts have a building condition survey which covers basically everything that could get done in the district for a number of years. So it's important to look out long-term on your projects, because these projects take time to develop, to get through voter authorization, as well as the state education department. So we have a local share reduction. The term local share essentially is debt service being paid out to service debt on prior projects, with state building aid coming in, and the local share is essentially what the local taxpayers are responsible for. So it's that difference between debt service, building aid coming in to cover a portion of it, and then the remaining is covered by taxpayers' payments. So looking out long-term, and we'll kind of talk through some of the graphs that we have about what it looks like long-term, and we did an analysis on what your local share looks like currently, and where the drop-offs are. So the idea meaning that when districts look to plan capital projects, they want to make sure that the local share is maintained as flat as possible. Why that's important is because that local share amount, for tax cap purposes, is your capital exclusion. So what you don't want to do as a district is to have large peaks and valleys of a local share such that you have a drop-off, and then at some point your tax cap calculation needs to get increased quite a bit to make up that difference as you put on new projects. So you want to kind of maintain that flat shape, and we'll kind of show you what that might look like graphically. State building aid, every district in the state receives state building aid on capital projects. The lowest that you could get in New York is 10%. 10% of the eligible expenses would be aided as state building aid. The highest you could get is 98%. So some of the rural, inner city type schools will be 98%. The larger, wealthier districts in Westchester, Suffolk, Nassau, some of those will be 10%. So it kind of gives you a good range. 75%, 75.8% is your district's ratio. Essentially what that means is for every eligible dollar spent on a capital project, the state will pick up roughly 75 cents of every dollar. So it's important to kind of use that leveraging to make sure the state's picking up a pretty good portion. And within Western New York, it's a pretty healthy amount. I think Lackawanna, Buffalo are like the 98% range, but you're sort of in there with Orchard Park and Lancaster and other peers within the area. So certainly a healthy amount. Financial planning with phasing. So we have what's called a maximum cost allowance we talked about, which is the upper echelon the district sets with respect to what they're going to aid on projects. And then our goal obviously is still yet to be developed, but the thought process tonight is what can the district do with no incremental impact to the taxpayers? So essentially what we're saying is the taxpayers are paying a certain amount now from prior projects. The thought is take advantage of that drop off in local share so that you're not increasing taxes along the way. You kind of take advantage of that drop off in local share as projects fall out from prior years. One quick one on the strong credit rating in the district. The district should be commended, for long-range planning over the years. The finances of the district now hadn't always been as strong as they are now, so it's certainly a AA3 rating by Moody's is certainly a credit positive for the district given their strong finances. Just to kind of set the tone for, those obviously are probably familiar with the most recent capital projects dating back since 2018. The big one, 2018 project, which is starting to wrap up, $75.5 million. 2023, 23.5, and then the most recent one, $8.5 million. So that's since 2018, $107.5 million worth of work at all your various buildings. So obviously, kind of gives you an order of magnitude of how much work needs to get done at these buildings, every year as you move forward. So this is a graph of we talked about this concept of existing local share. So you'll see through 26 through 28, we're pretty flat at about $2.7 million a year, which is what the taxpayers would be responsible for all prior projects that have been done within the district. So you'll see in 28, 29, and in 2030, 34, you start to see a drop off. And what that really relates to is the older projects that are starting to roll off, things that have been done 10, 15 years ago will start to roll off in those years, and that's the opportunity for the district to then replace that local share with new projects coming on. So the goal here is obviously to maintain that local share shape that you see between 26 and 28 and kind of maintain that shape. So just quickly what the term maximum cost allowance means. Again, that's the upper limit that the state's going to set for capital projects throughout all buildings. Each building has its own maximum cost allowance, so you can't take, you know, excess allowance from Allendale and put it to West Elementary. They sit at their own, so you got to make sure that when we're thinking about planning for projects, that we keep in mind the cost allowances that we have for each building to make sure that, you know, whatever's being designed is within the allowances, so that anything above that allowance is 100% taxpayer impact. So we want to kind of avoid having anything that's above those allowances. The cost allowance obviously takes into account cost of labor, cost of goods. So, you know, as costs have gone up since COVID, the state's formula for allowances has also gone up as well. So it takes into account the cost of labor, the cost of goods have increased over time to increase those allowances as well. Just quickly, just to give you an example of the maximum cost allowances per building. So the first column is obviously the buildings. The second one is the reset date. And why that's important is that under the state regulations, when a district does a capital project at a specific building, that amount that is done at that particular building becomes a hold against the allowance for a 5-year period. So the idea is you can't do, you know, projects every year at the same, you know, same building and continue to, you know, generate state aid. So for example, if East Middle School did a $28 million project for construction and $6.7 million for incidental. So incidental means everything outside the building, you know, turf fields, parking lots, construction, you know, cost as far as like architect fees, construction manager, that's all within the incidental allowance. So for example, if East did $28 million of construction and then 6.7 of incidental this year, that wouldn't reset for another 5 years. So you couldn't do another project at that building within the allowance for another 5 years. So the idea being is that the state wants you to kind of get on this 5-year cycle for each of these buildings to be within their allowance. So what this is saying then is with the full reset of all these buildings, taking into account all the prior projects that have been done, you know, including the ones that we're working on now, the reset date for East Middle, for example, would be in you know, May of 26. West Junior obviously is December of 26. So these are the critical dates that we think about planning the next project, that these are the dates we need to make sure that we're aware of so that when we're planning on getting approval from the state, that these dates are the ones that we need to target to get the full allowance from the state. So what we kind of mapped out is, given the drop-offs in local share, we ran the exercise of, you know, what could the district do in each of those years by way of sizing of a project, assuming that's within the allowance. You know, you think about the drop in local share in 28, 29, which is the first example. You typically want to vote on a project 2 to 3 years prior to the drop-off. And the reason being is that it takes a good amount of time to develop a project, you know, internally at the district. And then obviously to get to the voters, once it's voted on, it has to be designed by the architects. You know, that takes quite a bit of time. And then it has to go back to the state education department for approval. So you're looking at, you know, from the moment you decide what you're going to do, it's a good 2 to 3 year process. So that's why I think long-range planning and knowing where those drop-offs are occurring is important to think about now, not the year that the drop-off occurs. So in this example, we have a drop-off in 28, 29. That would look at a no impact to the taxpayers of $40 million vote in the 26th year, whether or not it's calendar 26 or fiscal 26. You could do a vote in, you know, the fall or December or the following year. And then the next drop off is the 22, 23 fiscal year would be another $15 million vote. Then the big drop off, which we saw in the graph here, which is the 35, 36 year, is 65 million. So I think, you know, the concept is do projects every few years to get to this, you know, 26 to 33 fiscal year of $120 million of work that could be done with no quote-unquote incremental increase to the local share that you are currently taxpayers are paying now. So I think it just kind of sets the framework for, what we could think about doing in each of these years, you probably don't want to do $120 million, in 1 year. But this kind of sets, the groundwork for where we could go over time. So then what it would look like is, we kind of looked at this graph here, which is what it looks like now. The thought is if you layer in those projects, we would have a local share as flat as possible for each year out to 42. And then beyond that, the 42, 43 years, another drop off. So you kind of continue on this cycle of, $120, $130 million projects every 7, 8 years to kind of get to these, local share drop-offs that we're seeing. So certainly this kind of shows what it would look like if we sort of went on that plan going forward with a no increase to the taxpayers going forward. The last slide that we put together is, we talk about this, no incremental tax increase to the taxpayers of 40, 15, and 65 million. The district has used, and this assumes no capital reserve for any of these projects, so it's just straight bond financing. The district has in the past used capital reserve dollars to finance a portion of the project. So when we think about the needs of the district, obviously are much more than 120 million. They're multiples of that. So the thought is if the district, increased its capital reserves over time, it could use that as a source of funds to leverage an even larger project with still no incremental increase to the taxpayers. And what that looks like is, given your aid ratio of 75.8%, the leveraging of that reserve, the leveraging meaning you're using cash to finance projects, but the state's aiding you as if you borrowed. So you could kind of use that cash to leverage capital projects without an impact to the taxpayer. So in this example, using like a 4-to-1 leverage is typically what we would see in this aid ratio. $1 million reserve would buy another $4.1 million of capital money. So in that first example, if you said, all right, we're going to do $40 million bond financed, but we're going to do $1 million reserve, that project could be $44 million. I guess that's sort of the thought process on thinking about building reserves going forward and adding to the amount that we already have built in as, no impact to the taxpayers with no reserves being used. So that's the last slide that I had. Certainly happy to, I know it's a lot to digest. Happy to answer any questions that anybody might have, and then continue the dialogue, obviously, with the Facilities Committee and other committees that will look to develop your capital plan moving forward.
Thank you. Anyone have any questions on anything? No. I mean, I thought it was really thorough, it was nice and succinct. I've been able to follow along. I think the one we did for the 75 million, if I remember back then, it did not have a higher tax impact than what we could, that was when a lot of the debt was coming off.
Correct,
Years
yeah,
around
so it's
that.
the same situation. Obviously, you're kind of thinking about like that last scenario where we had like the $65 million project with the really large drop off. The 77 million was, everything was kind of dropping off.
Yeah.
And that kind of rolled in, and you had a small capital reserve that was used on that transaction. But yeah, that was structured as no impact, going forward as well.
I think, and this probably has nothing to do with the finances side of it. It's always funny to hear, or weird that we have that we get a vote for people to approve it, and then we design the projects. Like, I think that's the hard time wrapping our heads around some of that stuff. The financing needs to be approved. The financing needs to be approved first before we can design it. The way you explained it now, I completely understand that.
Yeah, I think generally speaking, like with resolutions to the voters, it's pretty broad. It's, various renovations at district facilities. So most often you don't get real granular in the vote to say, all right, we're going to put blue paint on the walls or, some other concept. So I think to your point is you want to make sure that whatever you're bringing to the voters is, enough information that you would at least give them an idea of what conceptually it might look like.
Yeah, I think that's where it's nice to know that we're approving the concept with the funding, and when we have the funding, then we go for it.
Yeah, so I think it starts with the building condition survey, which I think you're all, familiar with the amount on that. Then it becomes, all right, what can we do without impacting the taxpayers, and what's needed, right? Priority list, 1, 2, 3, 4. And then you kind of decide, do we need this now, or could it wait 2 to 3 years. I think that's the exercise that should be coming forward in the next couple months, is to kind of think about what the next vote might look like and what that might include.
And I'm assuming buildings that are not aidable, like, say, transportation, maybe it is, but when we're working on projects that are not aidable, that's a whole separate set of funding then? It's a whole separate budget line?
Well,
Like the
yeah,
state-
that would be
state count?
that would be sort of the example of anything above the cost allowance is 100%. If it's a non-aided building, which I think Ebenezer and Winchester are not aided.
Winchester Academy
Academy.
should be because there's
It's
kids
BOCES,
attending.
that's right,
yeah.
BOCES, but Ebenezer is not aided.
Correct.
So any work at that building is 100% district taxpayers, local, local share.
Okay,
And the transportation is aided. There's no cost allowance specific to transportation buildings, but as long as it's a building used to, work on the buses and, an actual maintenance transportation facility, then it's eligible for building aid.
oh, great, okay, good
Yeah.
to know. So when we do work that's outside of, say, a bond vote type thing, does that money go into those numbers where the state allows or doesn't allow you to spend dollar amounts per building?
Well, yeah, every project that
Is it
is
every-
done has to be
okay.
approved by the state.
Yes.
Yeah.
So say we did 100,000, what's the capital outlay?
100,000.
Say we did 100,000 capital outlay, that number you were showing that they only allow you within a 5-year period?
Yep.
Is that the same,
Yes.
that money goes into that
Yeah,
number too?
that would also be counted against that 5-year limitation against your allowance.
Okay, great, thank you. Anything else?
Good questions.
Awesome.
Yep, thank you so much.
Appreciate it, thank you very much.
Thank you, Rick. So this presentation was intended to lay some foundation for our work session next week. I had a planning session with Ed and Marla on our work sessions, and at next week's work session, I'm going to be seeking some feedback to recommendations that I have for the board to consider. So for example, if we were to consider, as suggested here, a $40 million project in potentially '26, one of the things that I'll be working with Will on is how much may we apply of reserves. So let's just say hypothetically, it's $2 million in reserves that we're able to put towards this project. As you learned tonight, that $2 million actually would yield us $8 million additional. So if we had $2 million in reserve, we could now be looking potentially at a $48 million project. And what I'd like us to do, there are going to be some things through the building condition survey that we won't need to have much debate or discussion on. If it's recommended based on the life and where we are in the cycle of replacement that we need to replace HVAC and mechanics or a boiler, there's not much influence that we or our facilities committee may need to have on something like that. But some other things that were identified in our building condition survey. For example, we have 4 pools at the secondary level, 1 at each middle school, 1 at each high school. Those pools have renovation needs and repair needs that are in excess of $12 million. We will need to decide the future of our pools, and are we going to continue to maintain 4 pools in our schools? So there's things like that where I have had some preliminary discussions and feedback from our leadership team. We have some thoughts around that. I have some recommendations for you, but I want early feedback from the board so that we can start to shape what this next project may be on those areas where we do have, I think, some voice and choice in really thinking long-term of the vision for our instructional spaces, the vision for our athletic fields, and the vision for spaces such as our pools. Are we going to continue to maintain 4 pools, for example? So that's the time that we want to have carved out with the board next week during our work session around those things where we will have, I think, some rich discussion about the future vision of our schools and our instructional spaces. And this is a great foundation prior to having that next step.
Have any other questions or comments?
Thank you.
We'll move on to number 11, new business. Some of my favorite things in here. May I have a motion on 11, please?
I'll make a motion.
May I have a motion on all of 11, or if someone wants to do something different, I'm cool with that.
I was gonna make, I'll do a motion on 11.
Maureen, motion to approve all of 11?
Yes.
Thank you. Jeremy, second. Okay, any discussion on anything? I have just one question. I just want to point out the field trips, how awesome it is. We're getting the ball rolling on that. Anyone have any questions on anything we want to discuss? Just had a quick question on school lunches. And maybe this is something that could be, if we have a presentation ever on how everything's going in that department. But I think I got a notice at home. Kids, the free lunch program, do we sell things still in the cafeterias, like snacks and
We do.
that sort of thing?
Yes, because the school lunch program, it's free breakfast, free lunch for our students, and that allows a child to have one free meal. We do have some high schoolers in particular that may choose to get a second meal, and that second meal that they purchase, a student would need to pay for. In addition, we still have à la carte items. So if a student brings a lunch from home and simply wants to buy a snack or something to that effect, those are still for purchase items. But what is covered is one free breakfast, one free lunch for all students.
Awesome. Yeah, I saw, and then maybe I didn't understand the reading of it. It said that students may not charge additional lunches, but like, we have we don't use cash anymore, right? It's still the system where they have like a prepaid amount?
Meaning IOU, debt, yeah.
Okay, cool. That's it for me. Anything else, anyone? Okay, all in favor? Aye. Anyone opposed? Passes 7-0. Number 13, Board of Education discussion. We do not have anything listed. Didn't know if anyone has anything they want to bring out, talk about, discuss, ask questions on anything?
I just had one thing. In regards to the cell phone policy, there have been some questions as far as like what detention is going to look like. Is that going to look different across the levels of school, between the two sides of the district? Is there lunch detention, after school detention, before? And you may not know those answers. I don't know because
So I can
there's
share what I know, and if I need to get clarity on some other things, I can certainly update the board. At the elementary school, in particular at the elementary level, we don't have after-school detention, so that certainly would look different at the elementary level and maybe a lunch detention. But outside of that, at the secondary level, I can check with the principals to ensure that that is consistent and will be handled consistently.
perfect.
Anything else? Okay, the only thing I'll bring up is, appreciate everyone who has signed up to go to the convention. It seems cool. I think we've got 3 of us going. Zach, and of course, you're gonna go. So it seems it's a really great event. We'll hopefully learn some good stuff and bring it back. Good sessions on stuff, and there's good vendors there that show different things for the district. So again, appreciate people taking the time out to do that, and appreciate the board members so far that have taken the time out to go to their meetings that we're having and to get prepared in the spring for all our meetings and the things they've signed up for. Like, you were in Albany
Yes,
last week or this week?
2 weeks ago.
2 weeks ago. Time's flying by. Thank you for doing that. It went well?
It was wonderful, and yeah, so lots of things to come out of it. For me, the best was learning about the Portrait of a Graduate, and, you know, that was just rushed. I don't want to say rushed. They put it through, but the vote, they did not expect to have the vote that soon because it was so widely appreciated and liked that they went out and had to put a thing together to vote on it that night. So it's only been out for, at this point, 5 weeks maybe, but the Portrait of a Graduate looks really nice. Really giving some more opportunities to students other than just a test.
Excellent. Well, again, thank you. I think Albany? Was that Albany?
That was Albany.
That was
Yep.
Albany, okay.
Yep.
And then this convention's gonna be in New York City, so. Again, thank you everybody for that. I got nothing else for board discussion. Everyone else good? Okay, close that. And if I can have a motion to go into executive session to discuss contractual negotiations, please.
I'll make the motion.
Marla, motion to go into executive. May I have a second?
I'll second it.
Laureen, any discussion on it? Not all in favor? Aye. Anyone opposed? Passes 7-0. Okay, we're pretty much concluded business for the evening. We're going to go into exec, and when we come out, I don't anticipate us doing any public voting or any public discussion. So I want everyone to go out and enjoy your evening. It's still sunny out and warm. So have a great night. Thank you, everyone, for being here.